So this last sort of use of encryption is going to talk about file and folder encryption, which I've sort of already mentioned previously before. Um, so obviously, a lot of files and folders and what have you, and how the disk is usually encrypted. The operating system will usually do that for you. Um, Obviously, stuff like Windows tends to hide a lot of it and encrypt it for you. So if you are using Windows-based machines, they tend to have their own inbuilt software to do that for you. But obviously, sometimes some operating systems won't. Depends on what type you're using. But generally, um, a lot of people tend to use Windows, so it's quite a common thing to have encryption on your drives. If you've ever used BitLocker or anything like that. Um, Obviously, the main purpose of that is so if you remove the hard drive at any point, it doesn't matter where you put it in because it's encrypted and it doesn't match the operating system. Um, so um, it's it's quite interesting in terms of how it works in terms of like being able to encrypt for one operating system but then not another because there's numerous factors behind like how it can be kept safe. Um, Obviously, if you don't encrypt it, the hard drive can just be taken out of the system and put into a new one. If you used EFS, which is literally called encrypted file system from Microsoft Windows, can't speak on this one. You can only access it on the operating system that's being used, so it takes into account multiple things. So it can take into account the motherboard, for example, and the operating system. So if it's not got both of them things on there, and you put it into an entirely new machine, so with a new motherboard and new CPU and stuff, it won't even recognize it. It'll recognize that it's not supposed to be opened by the operating system. So, BitLocker is obviously a big one that you may have heard of before at some point. That can encrypt obviously the whole disk, so it's locked to that in particular. Whereas EFS is more for an account by account basis. So EFS is for an account, so things when you log on with that account, they can see them files, but other accounts can't. Whereas BitLocker is to do with encrypting the entire drive for any other system. So it's file and file folder slash disk encryption. You got to say why you want to do it, and obviously you don't want to lose any data or anything like that. But you can also briefly say how this works. So obviously you can use Microsoft and operating systems already built in and stuff like that. You don't want to be able to take that out of your system and then put it into another system by mistake. Well, not my mistake. You don't want to put it in another system and somebody else be able to read the information by mistake because some people usually sell the PCs on after they've done with them. So obviously doing that sort of solves that issue. So yeah, so that's basically uses of encryption. There's a few videos on that. You'll need to talk about all of these. But the next few videos are going to go into like legal issues and some other things surrounding cryptographic principles, essentially.